Welcome to Coffee with Clover. Thanks for joining us today. Please help me welcome my first guest, Brock Richardson. He has been one of Canada's Paralympian. Brock, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. So you have been to the Paralympic for Canada.
Yes, I have.
What year was this?
I was in Beijing in 2008 and then London 2012.
What was your first time at the Olympics like?
It was awesome. It's something that every athlete dreams of doing and dreams of preparing for. And when you get there, it just is one of those things, it's like you get overtaken with emotion. It becomes, wow, I'm really at the Paralympic Games right now. So yeah, I really enjoyed the experience.
How did you get in though? Did you have to apply?
Well, I started the sport of bocce when I was 12 years old. And over time, I started to work my way up through Team Ontario and then progressed to Team Canada when I was the age of 18 and then progressed to the Paralympics from there.
So you went in doing bocce?
Yes. Yeah.
Both years?
Yeah.
Oh, great. So what did you receive as a medal?
Well, the first Paralympic Games, I was 18 years old and I was 10th place, which was an extremely good accomplishment. And then in London 2012, I finished 18th overall. So.
And you have no intention of going back to the Olympics?
No, I have, over the years, I've done about 10 years of the national program, which allowed me to do 2 Paralympic Games, and I moved on to radio broadcasting since that time.
Saying that you've moved on, you're working in a different field now.
Yeah.
What's your current job?
So I graduated from a course specifically designed for individuals with a disability, and then I was doing a sports show for their online radio station, and then from there I pitched the show to a radio station called Accessible Media Inc., and I'm currently working with them doing a sports show.
So you have your own show on a radio channel?
It's Accessible Media Inc., so you get it on TV and online as well.
Great. What are some of the things you talk about there?
We do a lot of para sports, and given that it's almost going to be the Paralympic Games, we'll do a lot of focusing on that. But of course, we talk about the Raptors, the Leafs, and NFL and CFL. It just kind of depends on the time of year that we're.
That's good. Did you ever have Did you ever come across anyone who would like to be in your position, would like to go to the Olympics, and what advice have you given?
What advice have I given? I've always said never give up on your dream. I think that in anyone's life, if you have a dream, you got to go for it and you got to take a risk. And I think I've had a lot of athletes over the years look up to me and say, you know, how much time do you have to dedicate? And it's a lot of time to dedicate to the Paralympic Games. But if you want to get there and you want to make it a reality, never give up on it and go for it.
I'm proud of you for having been there, Brock. Yeah. So you know you're in broadcasting. What's your next move?
For now, we're happy with where we're at. We are going to be completing our first year with this company in August. So we're going to stick with it for now, and then come next year we might hopefully make some changes for the bigger and better with AMI Audio.
Good. I would love to listen in on your program. How can I listen in on your program?
So you can go to ami.ca /The Neutral Zone, which is the name of our show. And you can get us 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday mornings, as well as on podcasts. So if you go to your Apple iTunes store or Google Play, you just type in Accessible Media Inc. and scroll down to The Neutral Zone, and it'll be there.
That's great. Great stuff. Okay, Brock, I just want to thank you for taking the time out to come in and share that with us. And any new accomplishment, just remember Coffee with Clover.
Yes.
Okay.
Always.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Don't go away. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing mortgages with one of our specialists. You're watching Coffee with Clover. Welcome back to Coffee with Clover. Please help me welcome my next guest. He's a mortgage specialist, Gabe Nusbaum. Gabe, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Okay, my curiosity is, there are different types of mortgages on the market.
Correct.
How does one know which one to take? There are fixed mortgages and they're adjustable.
Yes, well, they're actually called variable rate mortgages, which means that the rate can go up and down with your over the term of your mortgage, depending on what the prime rate is or various factors that cause the rate to change. A fixed rate means that whether it's a 6-month, 1 year, 2, 3, 4, or 5-year term, which are your standard terms of mortgages, that the mortgage rate or interest rate will be fixed for the term of the mortgage. From the moment that mortgage commences to the moment the term is ending, that rate will never change. So the difference is, like I mentioned, that the variable rate will go up and down and fluctuate. So if interest rates go up, well, therefore you're now going to have to pay more money for your mortgage, and therefore your payments are going to go up. But there's a price to pay. What you're doing is, by, let's say, fixing a mortgage, which most people prefer to take, which is a 5-year term, right. What that means is you're going to have security in knowing exactly what your payments are going to be for the next 5 years. But you're going to pay a premium for that, meaning that you're going to pay a higher rate of mortgage interest over those 5 years than the current variable rate. So if, let's say, the current variable rate is, let's say, 3%, a 5-year mortgage can be anywhere from 3.5% to 4.5%, depending on the circumstances at the time.
But,
go ahead, sorry.
But then who determines what's right for the client? Yourself or the client?
No, so what I would, yourself mainly. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be affected by that decision.
You know your finances.
You have to know what the tolerance for risk is, because if rates go up, all of a sudden, that means you may have to budget more money to make those mortgage payments.
Right.
So, but by going fixed rate, yes, you know what your payments are going to be, but they're going to be automatically higher than if you went variable rate at the same time. So what you're doing is you're almost paying insurance for security. But as you know, insurance usually costs extra money. So I would say, in my experiences, I would always go variable rate. Reason being is that when you take a variable rate, is 95% of the time, that rate over the course of any 5-year period, historically speaking, that rate 95% of the time ends up being lower than if you average any 5-year term going on a fixed rate. So there is a bit of a risk, but in the long run, I think a variable rate is a better deal for the consumer if they have tolerance for the possibility that rates may fluctuate in an upward manner. So that's my personal take on it. So I would say going with a variable rate in the long run is better for the average consumer.
So then, now the consumer decides on the rate. Now they're paying their mortgage and something happens, could have lost their job.
Right.
How can you adjust that?
Well, first of all, if you lose your job, I mean, whether you have a variable rate or a fixed rate, that's something that would affect your ability to sustain those payments. On that note, you would have to say, okay, now we're dealing not so much with mortgages, you're dealing with personal finance in the context that, well, most people say you need to have at least 3 months' salary saved up. You need to basically have a certain amount of cushion for any other expense that may occur, whether it's sickness, a loss of job, family tragedy. And so that, whether it be your mortgage or anything else, that is a function of how much do you want to save for any unforeseen circumstance.
Have you seen that cushion with any of your clients who might have gone through that situation, though?
As a mortgage investor, my clients are really borrowers, or actually my clients are a lot of mortgage brokers, and they send private mortgages to me, which is a whole different ball of wax from what we were talking about right now. It's a completely different story. So that wouldn't be applicable to me, but I can tell you right now, we live in very difficult times. Debt load is as high as it's ever been per capita. Definitely. So people, not only do they not have money stashed away, they're usually basically living, just above their eyeballs, paycheck to paycheck, because, we live in a consumer spending society, and people usually, live for today and worry about paying for tomorrow. So that's a different issue.
I had an experience at work some years ago. I didn't see a friend. I didn't see when she came in the office. So when I saw her at lunch, I'm like, I didn't know you came in. And her response was, I had to come in, I have a mortgage. And I sat through lunch, and all I thought about was the mortgage is a burden. Well, how can anyone then safeguard themselves should it turn out that this mortgage is a burden? Okay,
so first of all, if she came in, she could just as easily say, I have rent to pay, I have children to feed, I have a car payments to make.
Right.
I mean, there's a myriad of other issues
Definitely.
why people have to come to work. So mortgage is just another facet of a life expenditure that every individual has to make. Now, so if you run in a case where you can't pay your mortgage, the bottom line is you have a few choices. You want to put your house up for sale. I know it's drastic.
It's hard.
Because the bank will sell it for you and
Very
you lose
hard.
any equity that you have.
Right.
So that's the important thing. The worst thing people do is they don't act quickly because the thought of selling their house or losing their house is so
That's added stress.
exactly.
Added
So
stress.
so they let things keep going and going and going. They don't make
Right.
the payments. They don't make the payments. Finally, the house is sold for them. But had they acted quickly, they could have at least kept the equity.
Great information, Gabe. Don't go away. When we come back, we'll have more about the new stress test. You're watching Coffee with Clover. Welcome back. We're speaking with Gabe Nusbaum, our mortgage specialist. Gabe, there are new mortgage rules for 2018,
Correct.
and there's also the stress test. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. All a stress test means is how much of an ability do people have to pay their mortgage. So because the property values have been going up very rapidly, particularly in the three major urban areas, Toronto, Vancouver, and maybe Calgary and also Montreal, the government is concerned that what goes up quickly can go down quickly. And so what they want to do is they want to put the brakes on how quickly properties go up. So by making it more difficult to pay your mortgage, sorry, let me rephrase that. Let's say a property is worth $1 million.
Right.
If you bought that property $1 million, you would now only be, based on the payments that you could make, you'd only be able to buy that same property for $750,000. Because now they want to basically, when you buy a property for $750,000, they're actually testing the payments as though that same property was worth $1 million. So they've increased your monthly mortgage payments by 2%, and then based on your income and all your other expenses, then they determine how much of a mortgage payment can you afford. So what they're doing, they're increasing the mortgage payment, and by doing that, they are now making it that much more difficult for you to buy a higher priced property. So what that means is people no longer qualify for higher priced properties. That lowers demand. A lowering of demand lowers price. But ironically, prices are still reasonably buoyant, and they're actually kind of going up, meaning they would have been going up a lot quicker, a lot higher, had the government not put the stress test on. So actually most people would have to say it's a good thing.
So the stress test is a good thing. Have you seen it worked?
Yes, I've seen basically people be priced out of a market because even though, let's say, your mortgage payment, even though you can afford, let's say, a $700 or let's say $2,000 a month mortgage payment, hypothetically, that same mortgage payment now under a stress test would be about $2,800 or $2,700. So even though you could afford those mortgage payments, the government now has mandated that banks have to make sure you qualify for $2,800 a month, even though your mortgage payment's $2,000. So it's not so much what your mortgage payment is, it's how much that higher amount is. And what the government's doing is they don't want to see people who basically can barely afford their current mortgage payments. If interest rates go up, and all of a sudden now you're at $2,800 a month, you now have a huge amount of properties going on the market, and you have almost a crash because there's an overabundant supply of properties because the interest rates go up and people can't afford it, and that's what they're trying to avoid.
Will this ever end, or
In
how
what- when
bad
you
will
say-
it? How bad will it get?
When you say will whatever end?
The stress test that clients have to go through.
I think if the market cools down, you see, the government is basing their decisions solely on what they see in the market.
Definitely.
So if prices are going up 15, 20% per year on houses, that is alarming. Houses generally should be going up maybe 6 to 8% per year, maybe in other places less. So when they start seeing prices going down or the degree of increase in price going down by a fair bit, so after 5 years or 3 years, maybe 4 years, I don't know, if they see that the increase in yearly prices of houses has gone down dramatically, then they may ease the stress test and maybe put it down to 4%, maybe instead of, let's say, 2% above going rates, they can go 1.5 down to 1. So they may tweak that a bit as
And that
things
will
go
make
along.
it more affordable for homeowners.
Well, the thing is, it's more affordable for homeowners now in the context that prices aren't going up so high so quickly. So even on the one end, you may have to qualify for a higher mortgage rate, but the house that you're buying, for every new entrant into the market, the house is not so much more expensive
Definitely.
than the entrance 6 months ago. So really, you're qualifying at a higher rate, but in actuality, the price for the house you're paying is not going up as fast. So it actually is better for the consumer in the long run.
Speaking about qualifying, what if a client wants to switch their lenders? Is there a penalty to that?
Yes, some mortgages, now you're getting into the type of contracts or mortgages that you get into. So if you have a variable rate mortgage or you have an open mortgage, better yet, that means you can come and go as you please.
Yeah,
You
the
can
open one.
you can
sometimes
change your
tends-
lender
it's
at
better.
will.
Right.
But
Wouldn't you say it's a bit better, the open mortgage?
Not necessarily, because you're going to pay a high. You see, anytime you have more flexibility, you pay a premium, so you have to pay a higher interest rate for an
Right.
open mortgage
'cause it's
because you can leave as soon as you want. Now, you can have a variable rate mortgage, but it could be closed, meaning the interest rate goes up and down, can go up and down, it's variable, but you have to be with that lender for let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 years. If you want to leave that mortgage, they will do one of two things. It's called the greater of, either a 3-month penalty, so you have to pay a 3-month penalty, or what they'll do is called interest differential. So they'll look at what interest rate you're paying on the mortgage, they'll look at how much time there is left on the mortgage contract, and then they'll see what the going rates are for the any given mortgage for the same time period, and then they'll subtract that whole time period, and if it works out to be more than 3 months, you're going to pay an interest differential. I know it's kind of complicated.
Yeah, mortgage is always complicated.
Yeah,
but
it's
that's great
true.
information you're imparting to us. So, Gabe, we're running out of time. Thanks for coming on and sharing all this information with us. How can people get in touch with you?
Well, they can either call me or email me. My email is Gabe, GABERN, @Rogers.com. Or they can call me at 416-885-5527.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with more on Coffee with Clover. Welcome back to Coffee with Clover. Please help me welcome the Executive Director of Mississauga Arts Council, Michael Douglas. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hi, well, thank you. Thank you for getting the show off the ground, taking an interest in what's going on in Mississauga and other places. That's awesome.
Definitely. Tell me what's going on with the arts in Mississauga.
Well, we're really excited about getting on the agenda in the provincial election in part. We've got a city council that's pretty engaged and interested in what we're doing. One of the things that's, I think, really a good news story for the arts and hasn't been exploited enough is the degree to which arts are a solution for people who have a whole series of problems. Let's look at something like, what's the impact of taking dance classes? Well, if you're suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's, it's one of the most effective therapies there is. If we look at Parkinson's disease and we talk about learning an instrument and the impact that has, and we look at all sorts of brain muscular distresses, illnesses, and we look at various kinds of arts, painting, playing, singing,
Yes.
the anti-depression power of the arts, the ability to enable people to move better, think better, feel better is phenomenal. So probably the most exciting thing on the arts frontier is this convergence of knowledge around the impact of the arts to enable people to live longer, healthier, more active, more mentally cognizant lives.
Definitely. So it's safe to say that with the arts, it stimulates the brain.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And the brain in a number of quadrants in the brain. So let's imagine the story the woman told me about how painting saved her life. Well, she talked about fine motor skills, emotional memory, the sociability of the painting class itself, and the movement, the muscular movement she had to do, and the concentration. And all of those things have different portions of your brain that are attributable to that function. And the consequence was she came back from being paralyzed with multiple sclerosis to the point where she's walking and selling paintings.
That is amazing.
And so it is tremendous.
So she continues to paint, and that continues to stimulate her brain. And
Well, in Britain,
Definitely.
they recognized this a long time ago. And so doctors in Britain are recommending, instead of drugs,
get in touch with
instead
the
of
arts.
drugs, Go to a painting class. Go to
Definitely.
a dance class. Go to a singing class.
Right.
Engage.
Right.
So the future for the arts is very bright because it's the most cost-effective health solution we have.
Let's talk about the awards ceremony that's coming up. When is it happening?
Well, Mississauga Arts Council runs the biggest arts awards west of Toronto in Canada and has done for 23 years. So this is
And
our
counting.
24th year. It's called the Martys. And we have, we cover every form of art. So there's a literary arts award, there's a visual arts award, there's digital arts, there's music, vocal, instrumental, group, solo. And
When
it's
is it happening?
May 10th.
May 10th.
I should have answered that right away,
Wow.
right, Clover? Okay.
Wow.
May 10th, 6
Definitely.
o'clock,
Well, now it's
Mississauga
out
Convention
there.
Center.
It's happening May 10th, Mississauga Convention Center. What can we expect?
Well, last year, Chuck Jackson won the Marty. Alex Velez won a Marty with his Dancing Kazumba hit song. Robert Sawyer won Lifetime Achievement. He's one of the greatest science fiction writers in the world. So we'll bring the greatest talents in Mississauga under one roof, one night, to share a celebration of excellence in all of the arts.
What else is happening in the arts in the community?
Well, one of the things that's neat is the success of the open mic movement. We now have, I think, 6 different open mic venues anytime. So almost probably 4 a week and 12 a month open mics at different clubs that are bringing live music to clubs and giving young artists a chance to test their wings, put their toe in the water, and find out if they think a music career is for them.
So they test their wings. How far does it take them?
Well, it can be pretty exciting. We've got the foremost music studio in Canada is in the middle of Mississauga. It's called Metalworks. It's run by Gil Moore, the former drummer of Triumph, the rock band, the arena rock band of the 80s. And so that group have really developed a wonderful system with respect to teaching young people about music, to enabling them to record, and recording people like Drake right now.
Okay.
So we've got a point of entry. We've got opportunities for professional music in Port Credit in particular, and then we've got a recording studio that can put them on the international market.
Great stuff are happening. How can one get in touch with the arts?
Well, our website is MississaugaArtsCouncil.com, and if you look at it, my phone number is 905-615-4215. You can call me, Mike Douglas, and say, hey, I'm interested. What can I do? Because basically we provide opportunities for people to connect, learn more, and do more, and hopefully get paid for it.
Okay. Mike, thank you for coming on and sharing such valuable information about the arts. I would just like to encourage everyone to get in touch with the arts. It stimulates the mind. Thanks for coming, Mike.
Pleasure.
And that's it for Coffee with Clover today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.